Okay, so it is 7 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. I'm Charlie Cazzabene, President of the East Greenbush Library Board of Trustees. We've got our January 20th, 2026 meeting, first meeting of the calendar year 2026. Any trustees have any comments on the agenda for tonight? None. Public comment? Also seeing none. Got our first meeting housekeeping pieces to take care of. So we've got our open offices for board trustees. So I guess these now for Sarah, for Bristol, Dublin, Oregon. Right, so then wait, something.
There were only me last year, so you should do them one at a time because they're different.
Oh, yeah. All right, so yeah, if you just want to, we'll start, everybody fill out their name on the line. So we'll start going around. We'll start with Sarah. Yeah. If you just want to. It's usually so you're speaking.
I, Sarah Bogas,
You solemnly swear that
solemnly swear that
I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York,
I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee of the East Greenbush Community Library according to the best of my knowledge.
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee of the East Greenbush Community Library according to the best of my ability.
So, and then Jenny, you have the member stamp. Some. All right. Crystal for the second 5-year term. If you say aye.
Do you want me to speak?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I, Crystal Tirico, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee of Greenbush Community Library for me.
Awesome.
Sure. I, Douglas Morrissey, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee of the East Greenbush Community Library according to the best of my ability.
And I, Jordan White, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee of the Community Library according to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Probably super excited. And generally.
Thank you.
For us.
Yes, at the end of the meeting.
Yep. All right, and then, so moving on from there, you've got the annual organizational paperwork. You should have a copy of conflict of interest form, the code of ethics policy. So then both of those, if everybody will sign those now. It is January 20th. Buster. Yeah.
You have that in your packet.
Okay. We have got the board after Russo and then Meg's signature.
Sign that.
All right. So with all of the important housekeeping out of the way, we're gonna go over some more housekeeping. We're gonna go on to committee assignments. So we have, four for each. So to refresh our folks, we've got four for each committee, four trustees for each committee. And then I sit on both. So that leaves 3 spots for each committee. Did we,
Treasurers
and treasurer's on admin, right? So that's, we have Crystal on admin.
Yeah, there's space.
Then, I'm going to when you,
Services would be great.
one more for services, anybody else interested? All right, so we got Sarah for services, and then we've got 2 more for admin, so we'll go, Kaylee will do admin, I will do shopping. And then one more. Yeah. So, all right, perfect, so for the record for services, we've got me, Charlie, we've got Morrissey, we've got Jordan White, we've got Sarah, and then for admin, we've got me.
Does not matter, because you have done already. I've done both of them. Services is a good way to learn the policies and admin is a tough nut to crack. I don't want to say it's not difficult, but it's not scary. It's just there's a lot of things that you have to jump right into, and it's a sharper learning. There's a lot of contracts and a lot of ongoing things. For example, the SCODAC contract, things like that, that have a lot of moving parts that you aren't already privy to. Not that you can't learn quick, but like, and if you want to join admin, you are more than welcome. But I am completely. That's why I went last. You'll have lots of support.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, we're gonna be fine.
And then for admin, so it's admin, it's me, Crystal, Kayla, and Amanda.
Who's the chair?
Oh, chairs. I mean, did you want to do admin chair? Or do you want-
I could do
You wanna do
it.
this?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Did it last year.
Yeah.
And, so, thinking, Jordan, did you want to try?
Sure,
admin chair? All right,
sure.
awesome. Okay. Okay, so moving on to minutes, so we've got the minutes in your packet. Item E is the motion to approve minutes of the December 9th, 2025 library board meeting. Everybody had a chance to take a look at those, see if there are any changes, comments, thoughts that folks saw, spotted. It's being none. Anyone make a motion to approve the minutes? Kayla? Any, please. Ready, it's second, then discussion. Any, a second? I'll take a second.
Yeah.
Ready. And then now any discussion or comments? Seeing none. All motion to approve the minutes of December 9th, 2025 library board meeting. Favor? Okay, so 7-0, motion is approved. All right, and then just for folks who, for everyone new on the board, reminder folks, usually, right, we've got, you can see here, do the whole order, public comment, and then usually the minutes will follow. That will be our friendly housekeeping move into the substance, like we're doing now with treasurer and Joey will help me.
Okay, this will probably be the only time you're gonna hear from me as treasurer. And then we'll get Crystal all up to speed. This is, we're gonna start with the off warrant, which reminder, the off warrant are bills that have been paid already in between meetings, so you're retroactively approving those bills, and the total amount is $168,744.56. That does include 2 payrolls those are the biggest expenses as well as insurance, health insurance are the big ones there as well. Are there any questions? And feel free, especially new board members, to ask away with any of the not any of those expenses. You're gonna see one large expense that was for the assistant director's office. $15,519.51, and that was also in the report as well. Oh. Next, we have the warrant. And we have the motion. Neither of the, I am not used to doing motions. Okay. We have a motion to accept the off warrant in the amount of $168,744.56 for the period of December 6th through January 13th as presented.
Second. Favor?
Okay. Next, you have the warrant. These are the checks that are here to sign tonight. And there is one minor change on this warrant that we're gonna have Charlie initial tonight that we found afterwards. We needed to remove one bill that was actually already paid that we found. So that is warrant, which is here. So we've already crossed it out on here. The amount is $30.39 from Cengage Gale. So the total amount should be $68,107.58. Pretty, I mean, it's the end of year expenditures, but pretty minor. There's nothing in here that's really significant. We had EBSCO magazine subscription renewal in there for $3,000. A lot of consulting, landscaping work, year-end bills, $6,955. We had our disability and paid family leave. We did that for this coming year, $8,612.88. And our regular Tag Solutions. Tag Solutions is our IT service that we outsource. Our security, they manage our server and our network and all of the security. So that is typically $2,633 a month. We do have a block purchase of 2,000 hours. They do a vulnerability scan. They did, and they have some things that have been identified that to be fixed. So that's they need to fix that. Minor things, but those are the big pieces in here, other than ULAN, UHLS, that's our membership fee. So we pay that quarterly. You'll see that, and then we also pay Overdrive ERO contribution. So you're gonna see monthly, you'll see bills from Overdrive, which is the Libby service, they can go to digital books materials. We pay Libby, or we pay Overdrive directly. But once a year, we pay the Upper Hudson Library System for a shared pool, basically, that purchases copies that have metered out. So some ebooks and audiobooks, the publishing is tricky. It's actually licensing. The licensing is tricky, it's complicated, and it's frustrating for all of us because it's very expensive for libraries when we purchase an item through a vendor, we're not actually owning it. We're licensing the use of it. And we're usually, depending on the publisher, and it's different for all the publishers, we may only be licensing it for 26 times. And then you have to purchase another copy. So it's a really expensive service that they have not figured out how to do it properly, I would say, because they have sort of a monopoly, and we're kind of locked in, because once you're with the vendor, you have this collection. And they host it for you, so it's not like a collection that you can move around like a physical collection. So libraries are kind of stuck, and there's no other better option out there. But you'll see in the stats, it's heavily used. And so you're gonna see some, we spend a good chunk of money on digital materials. But that's how we purchase it. We'll have a purchase go through Upper Hudson for those metered copies. They will keep an eye on those for system wide. And if they need to be replenished, we each pay based on our usage the previous year, the percentage of our usage in the consortium. Right now.
So, since you mentioned
Yes.
solving, what entity manages bonds and roles?
Okay. So that is a great question. The library, the YMCA, and the Eddy, Hawthorne Ridge, we each own 1/3 of the roadway. But what we do is we work together to maintain the roadway. So the parking lot, we contract out with Seasons East. It just happens that everybody contracts out with Seasons East right now. So Seasons East will come to us, and they will actually bill all three parties 1/3 of what they do for Community Way. National Grid, the YMCA holds the contract with National Grid, and then the YMCA will send us a bill once a month to the National Grid. And if we do, if we need to repair any of the lighting or anything like that, the road maintenance, one of us will contract it, and then we will split the cost 3 ways. And that's the same thing for the landscaping, not the sign. We also, not the library sign, but the sign that's on the big sign down or there. We split that 3 ways. And so I did just have a meeting with the other 2 partners recently to talk about the road, because it's time for us to do some major maintenance work on the road. We have a meeting coming up again in February with our maintenance staff. And we've talked about some creative ways of doing that. Some of the other partners have like the Y has a bigger facilities staff. They may be able to do some of the repairs in-house with their staff. So we're talking about ways that we might split that and what that might look like and how we could participate and contribute to keep it.
But when you say the library was 1/3 of the whole, is it identified which third?
Yeah, we're the first. We're the first. But that's why we split anything that happens from there to the end. We split it 1/3. That's the practice, even though we each own a section. Because everybody has to drive through our section. Right? So we all cover the full cost of the roadway, and then our individual parking lots, we each own independently and do that independently. Contract out. So this spring, we need to do some road repair work. It's due for a real, like, dig it up and pave it. It's in rough shape. It's very expensive. And the other parties are really struggling with getting funds to get to it.
Is that something we could put in a construction grant?
It is.
And I know I asked this last year, but I do not remember the answer. What is the Tony Murphy thing?
Those are taxes. That is our water sewer.
Oh, okay. I knew that we like, because we're tax exempt for most things,
Yes.
and I know I asked this, but I
Sewer.
could not remember what it was.
Mhm.
That's for the whole year?
It's minimal.
Yeah. That's pretty fun.
Probably lower than your personal.
It is,
water bill.
it is.
Any other questions about the warrant? So if we can have a motion to authorize the president to sign the warrant for the period of December sixth through January thirteenth in the amount of $68,107.58. Second. Okay, next we'll go over the budget versus.
Approve the January back.
6%. Yep, haven't gotten that, but yeah.
All right.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So next on the financial report, you're going to see a budget versus actual for 2025. This is the preliminary final budget. We did just get another bill today, closing out the books completely this week. The auditors are coming next week. So it's close to being full, but it's not, they're not quite closed out yet. You'll see that we budgeted $2,630,000 or $2,630,600 for revenue, and we brought in $2,595,600. I'm sorry, no. 636. Thank you, I read the wrong line. We budgeted $2,630,600. We brought in essentially $37 more than we budgeted. And expenditures, we had a grand total of operating expenditures of $2,594,852. But then we also had capital expenditures as well. Those are underneath the $25,280 for the assistant director office and the capital project, $389,953. So while we were under in our operating budget, and that money will go into essentially fund balance for carryover cash flow, which is needed right now according to our reserves policy. So I'm not recommending that we move that into any accounts. That is where it should stay. But I think we're in good shape financially. You'll see that we did not spend the $70,000 for the air handler unit in 2025 because they didn't complete that until it has been completed though. As of last week, we haven't gotten the bill yet, so we will be paying that. You'll see that next month. For that one. I'm so glad that project is finally done. Now we just have other facilities. So that's any questions on the 2025 budget versus actual? Okay, moving on to the end of the year restricted funds report. This is the report for all of the restricted gifts and grants and the capital projects. We brought in $39,990 in restricted gifts and grants last year, and we spent $45,011.14. That's because we started with 19,000. So it's at the end of the year, we're carrying over $14,077.24 into restricted gifts and grants to spend in 2026. Projects, the capital projects down below, just so you can stay updated where we are with things. Big project is the 300 and this essentially $1,000 project that we're working on right now that we spent just over half. We're not quite finished. Sure, we're gonna close that out this year. And then we'll receive the final 10% share next year, depending on when. Any questions about
What is this first restricted fund? AIS.
adult information services programming, AIS programming? So each one of these are, any grant that starts with FR is a Friends grant. And so the first one is an adult programming grant, large print books, hoopla digital books, museum passes, team programming supplies, youth services programming supplies. They were sort of detailed out with which types of programs are included in the grant. But it goes down the list there with what those grants are. And so typically these smaller grants you'll get reported on every month, but it's not something that you necessarily have to approve us accepting money. We just accept the money, we deposit it. There's approximately 50,000 budget this year, maybe a little bit. Of Friends money coming in. Mostly programming. Some materials. Any other questions? No? Okay. Next, we are moving on. Sure. Next, we have the budget versus actual for 2026. We're just barely into 2026, so there hasn't been a lot of expenditures, 3.6% of the year over. I did put in here, you'll see, and we discussed this at the training, that the budget revenue does not match the budget expense. They're not balanced on this sheet, and that's because we have money set aside as transfers coming in from reserves and transfers going out into reserves, and they don't show on the budget versus actual, just a reminder. So they will show up on the balance sheet every month. I did put them on here in the notes, just so you could make note of that and you know what to expect. And so we won't make those we won't make the transfer out until we receive our tax levy funds, just so that and that's typically in mid-February, where we'll receive our money from Skodak and the tax levy funds from the town, just for cash flow purposes. We're not gonna transfer out. But then after we do that, we'll make the $296,965,000 budgeted transfer into our non-restricted capital reserves, and that will be used for our roof project. Questions about the budget versus actual? Okay, and then moving on to the balance. After everything. I know there's a lot more reports than usual. It's one motion, that's the year end and new. So now we have the balance sheet. As of January 13th, 3.6% of year over. You'll see that the transfers that we made are listed down there.
Please use your time accordingly. Thank you.
This is where you're gonna, well, you're not gonna see December 31 to December 31, but you can get a general sense of where we were last year to this year. You'll see that our total assets are down about 10% from last year. Cash assets, and that is largely due to capital expenditures for the year. Questions about balance sheet? And then you have the new donor restricted gift and grant report, a little easier to read. This is all of the remaining, there's been no expenses so far this year, but it's the same grants that were reported earlier. This is just the ones that still have a balance left in them for us to spend in 2026. So they're here on this sheet. And then as we add new gifts and grants, they'll be added to this sheet. This report every month as well. And then you'll see the 2026 capital. Ready for a motion? I do have two other financial things to report on. But if we can do the motion,
Sorry, you'll do the motion. We approve the January 13, 2026 financials with 36% of the year completed as presented. Motion we got Jordan and second from Crystal. Discussion comments? All in favor? 7-0. Yes.
Great. Okay, just a few things I want to update you on. The auditors will be coming in for, they're going to be coming in the last week in January to do the audit. We've already started sending them some of the data. So we are going to need to update that because it's built in today. So I will let John know that we're going to send some new stuff. It's okay. So they will be in here to start the audit. I'm going to post on Teams the letter from the auditors that goes to the board, so you can see what that looks like and what we're looking for this year. We handle all of that, but anybody that wants to sit in the process can. And the auditors will come and do a report to the full board at a board meeting. Also, have received our Skodak contract. So that's wonderful for $462,000. This is not the amount we have in the budget. We budgeted. I can't even remember. It is the amount we were expecting based on our conversations. So we will have to amend the budget. This is lower, but it is what we were expecting. There's a long history behind that we can fill in the board during. Or if you have questions, we can do it now too. But I'm glad that's appreciate it. Sure. Then I have been in touch with the insurance company, and I have a written, I have a verbal acknowledgement for the remediation that happened, but I don't have anything in writing yet saying that that's covered. I do have a written acknowledgement of the repairs, so that's good. It looks like we will be repairing everything we've asked. The cost to the library will be the portion to fix the roof, which we paid here, which was a couple $1,000s. That was not covered in insurance and our $5,000 deductible. But everything else is going to be covered in insurance. So we will be, it's a big chunk. The replacement value is $112,275. We'll be receiving essentially a chunk of that cash. Most of the cash we'll be receiving upfront as a cash payment that'll just go into our accounts, less whatever the recoverable depreciation is, and then at the less the actual deductible. Sorry, I had to look. That word just slipped my mind. Less the deductible. And then once the project is over, we can send them photos, and then they're going to send us a check for that recoverable depreciation. So the first payment will be it's approximately $89,500. A little bit less than that we'll receive upfront. And so once we get that check, we'll start putting together a contract to do the repair work, figure out what that's going to look like. That repair work, it's pretty extensive, and there's going to be a lot of coordination because it's in a lot of different areas. It's in the back offices, it's in the admin area, it's in the assistant director office. It's in the majority of it is in the main library, children's library. It will also include, so it's all those bookshelves and walls and like all the baseboards and the stuff behind the baseboards that they're gonna have to repair, and painting and a lot of work there. It's also carpet. So it's the carpet for the entire main library and her room and the teen room, because it's all continuous carpet, the insurance is covering the cost of all of that as well. So that's good news for us, other than the coordination, the impact on the operations. So we'll figure that out. You know, hopefully we can do it in stages. It is a massive undertaking, and I don't want to acknowledge that, the impact of it, that's gonna be on the community and really on our staff. Just sitting, you know, even right now, sitting and having just a mess in front of you, not knowing when that's gonna be cleaned up is, you know, not great for the psyche. So the sooner we can give everybody a plan, the better. And hopefully we can get it taken care of relatively quickly, as what we know with projects, they take a long time. So I'm not committing to a certain date. We haven't even gotten into the, you know, selection process of materials and what that's gonna look like. You know, apples to apples. I did talk to insurance about what if it comes in over budget or under budget. Not that I've ever had a project come in under, but if it does, what happens? So we would talk to them and negotiate with them. So if it comes in under budget, we give them money back. So over budget, we negotiate before we make any purchases to figure out if it's gonna be covered or not. The other thing that I would like us to really think about is whether we wanna include the children's carpet. That is not part of this replacement, but we will be in there and things are being moved, and it is something that we need to replace sooner rather than later anyways. It was on our replacement schedule, and we do have money in the budget, so I'd like to talk about that at admin committee and see if we might consider adding that to the project. It might make sense to do that. So I'll have to get some estimates on what that might look like to see whether we might want to do that as well. So that's an update on roof leak. And first, we're gonna need to log it sooner rather than later. We have a meeting, started talking about that last week. So, are working on. We'll have a, I think it's $28,000. Don't hold me to that. It's on already. Ever 28, contract with our architect to put together all the documents. And that was in the original grant, amount that we had estimated, but we'll have, that contract will need to come for you. The contract before it gets signed at the next. Probably the longest financial report that you're gonna get. Any other questions? Oh, director report. No, I'm not. For director report. Okay, you're just gonna get to hear from me all night long. So you have in here December, an overview of December as well as year-to-date stats, the end of year comparison, which I always find good thing to go over that information. So there are a few, if you've been following along every month, I just want to let you know that there are a few minor statistical adjustments. They're not going to be, they're not meaningful in the percentages, but when we were looking and pulling some of the original data for the year end, why is this not matching? There were a few like off 3 or 4 couple of categories. So they've been edited in final numbers. So these are the real final numbers that we're very comfortable with. Here, Bill, some of the numbers went down. Some of the date, I'll give you an example. In the database, it's probably too much information, but in the databases, they auto calculated some some of the more detailed data. They auto calculated it in the total, but really that was just detail that shouldn't have been calculated in total, so we removed that in there, so. Write it down a little bit, but you can see it's still went up 10.7%, so it was still what we, approximately what we had been anticipating each year. And then, there was another minor one, so it was off a few, adjustments in the 1,000 books programming. So essentially, what I'm seeing through this is that we are seeing more people we're continuing to see people coming through the door and people wanting to eat together. There's a lot of programming is huge. Our circulation numbers keep going down. I mean, they're not going up. Digital is going up a little bit, but not significantly like it was. It's still a big chunk of what we're doing operationally, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be increasing significantly. How people are using them. Meeting room used by outside groups went up by 27%. And that's a pretty significant number that we haven't seen numbers that large, those increases that large. Computer use is up significantly, programming is up significantly. But the physical is it's going down, and so are the drive-through visits, which that makes sense. Because that went up crazy during COVID. And as people are coming in, they seem to be using the space, but not necessarily just to grab, armloads of things, is what I'm seeing, because you're still having people. If you look at the user accounts, new library card registrations, that's up 19%. And then if you look at the active retention, people who are active every month, that's going up 2%. So, but they're checking out less items. Well, they're just checking out less items overall.
Is this a trend that's other libraries or something?
Yeah, everybody's seeing it, but it's still interesting,
So how
Obviously,
do
we want people to read.
you track them?
We have a door counter. There's a counter, and it's not perfect. I would say it's probably 90% accurate, because it's sort of an infrared light that tracks movement, but if a little kid comes with an adult, it's not gonna count that. It does only count one-way traffic, so you're not counting people twice. But if somebody went out and came back in 5 times, it's gonna count them all 5 times. So it's the best you can get.
Yeah.
But it's not 100% accurate. But last year we also had that main entrance closed for a while, and we had people coming from here, so it wasn't even capturing people coming in through the front. So the fact that it's still going up is interesting.
Coffee are closed. Is every your limited items was circulated that?
I did include here the collection years use by year and format, so you can see that collection usage pre-COVID and now it's still up, it's up compared to pre-COVID, but physical usage is down significantly. So that's a trend that's happening everywhere. But that includes database usage. And so database, that's Ancestry, that's Mango, all of that, those kinds of services, the Gale research databases, but that's also the Times Union. Now we have the Wall Street Journal that just went live. People can access the New York Times, people can access that for free through the library. That's gonna make that drive, that's gonna keep going up for using that. Are there any questions about, I talked about some of the programs that we were doing in here. I'm sure you had a chance to read them. Is there anything you have questions about? Or what you need to talk about further? Staff is doing a lot of really, really good work. There's no shortage of things to write about. Okay.
Next.
Still no. I'm still on the agenda. Okay. Personnel memo. Okay, so we have a resignation of a part-time librarian. Lori, I will. Deep appreciation for all of her time here. Lori has been with us for she was full-time for a number of years and then left and then came back part-time. She's a branch manager at Troy and she's finally decided to do a good job. She is phenomenal and gratefully accept her. Hope that you all accept her resignation. She already stopped on January 12th. We do have the 2 part-time positions open that are actively being interviewed for, and it looks like we have a pool. So we should be able to make, sometimes you just don't have a good pool. It looks like we're gonna have a pool to make some, hopefully it all works out, some appointments for the part-time library assistant and part-time librarian 1 position. So you should have something by next month. For those positions.
Civil service. There's no list.
No. There hasn't been a list for our. Is it? Never know. When I started here, they told me, oh, you're not gonna need to take a test, like there's never gonna be a. And then I think a week in, there was a test. Thank goodness, it worked out, but there's only been 3 job titles since I've been. Yours, that was a new title. And senior library clerk, so in 10 years, they have not given any librarian tests. We'll see. So what it means is that if there's no list, then we can open it up to. So it has given us some flexibility because it's already hard because there's a limited number of people that have their masters in library science for the librarian jobs anyways. So it's okay that right now that there's no list, unless they're gonna keep it active. They're gonna update it every year, then that would be fine. But so far it hasn't hindered us or helped us.
Motion to approve.
You approve the January 20th, 2026 personnel memo as presented. Doug, any comments, discussions? See, all in favor? Go. Eric, thank you. Right, deliberate.
I think you might be teachers, the library, so.
You wanna take that?
Yeah. So for the only liaison report we got today is Cami, our rep from Hudson Board. Just noted that there's an advocacy day on Tuesday the 3rd, Tuesday, February 3rd. And there's a schedule Jill has that came from the HLS director. For old business, the board approved an evaluation process for evaluating the executive director. Cami noted that they, in Bethlehem, they use the defibrillator to save the life of a patron. And at UHLS, Juneteenth is now a holiday and no longer a floater. Awesome. Thanks, Cami. There's that in. And I didn't hear from the other 3 liaisons.
Also, just a reminder that we have a community advisory council meeting. They are meeting on February 12th. So if anybody would, right? Sorry, date at 6 o'clock, I think. 6 o'clock to 7:30 in this room. Please, if you would like to attend, it's a great people. I would welcome anyone. Energetic.
All right, so then the one item for unfinished business is to Like the whole, I'm gonna tell you. Um. Just to make what we realize the.
Yeah.
So we've got a motion to appoint Crystal Rico as treasurer for 2026. We have a motion from Amanda, second from Kayla. Discussion, comments? All in favor? 7-0, thanks so much. Excited that person to be our treasurer.
No,
Yeah, you're doing awesome.
you got this.
Any business? Anything anyone wants to raise?
I just want to say, if you do go to the lobby day, it is a lot of fun. I did it one time. It's super nice. Everybody's excited. Legislators love meeting library people. They're so excited to see everybody. So if you can go, I highly recommend doing it. You just go, like, just talk to Jill. She's gonna go, right? Are you going?
I may not be able to go this year. I always go. There've been. But I will have so we go through Upper Hudson. There's a whole group that goes and they set up all the appointments with all the legislators.
And there's a schedule.
Just let me know and I can make sure you have all the information if you want to go.
And just make sure you get there with plenty of time, because you have to go through security, and there's like so many people. Like, there's buses from Queens, there's buses from Brooklyn, there's buses like, so like I got there with like no time to spare. And that's it. Like, I was out of breath, but I had to park like on Jefferson to get there, so. Definitely make sure you have plenty of time, good walking shoes, but it is a blast. I had so much fun doing lobby day. I did it, so.
You don't need to speak unless you don't. We plan all that ahead of time, so if there's something you wanna say, we can plan it out.
Like, I chatted with one of them, but that's because I had a relationship outside of them. Outside of the library with one of with Ashby's chief of staff. But you don't necessarily have to. It's just nice to listen, like Joe said, and just be there for the libraries. But McDonald's great to talk to. You can email him all the time. Like, I constantly am emailing him.
I do.
So it's nice to put a face to a name and things like that. So he's probably tired of hearing from me. But he'll never admit it. So
Our local legislators are really supportive.
they really are. So definitely recommend. If you can, it's hard. It's the middle of the day, but it is a blast.
Business? See none, everyone's favorite motion to adjourn the January 20th, 2026 library board meeting. Kayla? Doug? And
So this is a 5 minutes. If my opportunity to set out materials and will not be able to set up items after we close.
all in favor? Carried.
Thank you for your time. Congrats. First meeting.
Yeah.